Many Americans view the 2016 election as a jarring domestic shock, but in Moscow, the perspective was different. To Russian intelligence, the result was the successful outcome of a meticulously planned operation. The Soviet secret police and their modern successors specialize in a tactic known as an active measure. It is a specialized form of intelligence work designed to induce an adversary into directing its own strengths against its own weaknesses. During the Cold War, superpowers fought over physical territory. Today, that battlefield has migrated, reforming into modern warfare targeting psychology, finance, and digital infrastructure. To execute an active measure inside the United States, the Kremlin required an entry point, a highly vulnerable American vessel, to serve as the payload for their operation. By the late 1990s, Donald Trump was essentially bankrupt. He was hundreds of millions in debt, cut off from traditional American banking. He was uncreditworthy. This lack of domestic credit and desperate need for cash transformed his image. He was no longer just a developer. He was a prime vulnerability for foreign exploitation. Trump's business survival was underwritten by Russian kleptocrats. They saw a struggling empire as a strategic opportunity to build influence through financial rescue. Russian oligarchs moved illicit wealth into the United States through anonymous limited liability companies, particularly in Delaware, where the true owners remain ghosts. These shell companies directed those funds into luxury properties, transforming dirty rubles into clean American dollars. These purchases occurred across Trump's entire portfolio. Foreign capital saved his brand and funded new projects, often without requiring any actual investment from Trump himself. This financial relationship culminated at the 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Moscow. The Alagalarov family, major Russian developers, paid Trump $20 million simply to attach his name to the event. Moscow spent a decade sustaining the image of the successful billionaire. By the time he entered politics, the developer was a candidate whose financial survival relied on a foundation of Russian capital. As this asset moved into presidential politics, his inner circle was immediately populated by advisors with deep financial and strategic ties to the Russian Federation. Paul Manafort ran the campaign for free while owing $19 million to a Russian oligarch. He oversaw the import of East European manipulation tactics, turning American elections into referendums on culture and identity. Inside the family, Jared Kushner facilitated direct access. He attempted to set up secure back channels with Russian operatives right inside Trump Tower. This influence reached the cabinet. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross held significant investments in the Bank of Cyprus, an offshore haven for Russian oligarchs avoiding sanctions. Michael Flynn, the future national security advisor, took money from Russian state media and secretly worked to undermine U.S. sanctions before taking office. This captured infrastructure surrounded the candidate, ensuring Russian interests were protected at the highest levels of the United States government. The final phase was a coordinated cyber war. Executed by the Internet Research Agency in St. Petersburg, the mission was to manipulate the American public and deliver their asset to the Oval Office. Russian intelligence mapped the algorithms of Facebook and Twitter. They used bot networks to amplify hyper-partisan conspiracy theories, injecting them into millions of news feeds. These tactics targeted key swing states, using digital tools to suppress Democratic voter turnout while hacking internal party emails. Russia did not invent American racism or polarization. The active measure simply weaponized the vast infrastructure of the American internet, turning domestic fractures against the population. Financial leverage, captured personnel, and cyber warfare converged. These three phases successfully placed a Russian asset in the White House. The operation targeted the American succession principle, the mechanism of free, fair, and legitimate elections that ensures a state outlasts any single leader. American political leaders, driven by hyper-partisanship, denied the intelligence. They chose the short-term victory of their party over the long-term sovereignty of the nation. The active measure succeeded because of internal vulnerabilities. Unregulated financial systems and deep partisan divides allowed the very brand of oligarchy America claimed to oppose to take root at the center of its government.